So we've been talking about this little window company, Sirius Materials. It gets all kinds of special gifts from government. Well, Tim Carney has written 2 books on crony capitalism, including one aptly called The Big Ripoff: How Big Business and Big Government Steal Your Money. Dennis Calabrese was chief of staff for a former majority leader of the House. And in that job, he says he saw the ills of crony capitalism firsthand. So what ills are you referring to?
Well, John, the American public, I guess, thinks that Congress goes and deliberates serious issues all day and works on major philosophical problems and debate each other.
It's the big picture.
Right. And really, a typical day in Congress is people from the private sector coming and pleading their cases for help. And it may be help for a specific company, like the window example. It may be help for an industry, an entire industry. It may be help for United States companies versus overseas companies, protectionism. But the business of...
And they always make a good case. You have to be a really principled congressman to be tough enough to say no.
Particularly if they're from your district and they're giving you campaign contributions.
So the congressman is sucking up to these people.
There's so many varieties that it's hard to narrow it down, but that's a common one. But this window company you named, I'm sure has got a lot of great employees. The problem is, so do their competitors. The competitors have, those jobs are just every bit as important as the jobs in that company. Congress picks winners and losers in the free enterprise system. That's wrong. That's corrupt.
People think that's the job of the wise people in government.
And they're wrong. And Congress has led them to believe that. Congress wants you to believe that free enterprise will be successful if the government gets involved in it. It'll be more successful. In fact, the record is it's less successful every time they get involved. And of course, then it's used to criticize capitalism. Well, look, it doesn't work. It's not fair. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is an unholy alliance. And it is being perpetrated, and the losers are the taxpayers and the voters and the stockholders of the companies.
And Tim Carney, this is what you wrote about in The Big Ripoff.
Yes, it's been going on since the beginning of the Republic, unfortunately. I think it's getting worse under the end of the Bush administration, beginning of the Obama administration.
As government
gets bigger. You see it everywhere. I think healthcare is one of the greatest examples where the president talks as if he's battling the special interests, but he cut a deal early on with the drug companies. This healthcare bill subsidizes drug companies. It keeps the ban on reimportation of drugs from Canada going. It provides mandates that we have to buy health insurance. Again, this is not business going out and trying to convince consumers to buy their products. They're convincing politicians to force people to pay for their products.
And going back to the Sirius window case, I noticed they got this special tax credit. Mm-hmm. And we looked up the criteria for this tax credit. What made these companies so special? And there were a number of things on the list, but high on it was job creation. Sirius gets the money for that, and yet how many jobs will they create? Much of the favorable media attention that Sirius got started when they reopened a closed window factory in Chicago.
The company abruptly closed down, and its 250 employees staged a sit-in to protest losing their jobs.
And to protest America's bailouts.
You got bailed out! We got sold out!
The union, the United Electrical, Radio, and Machine Workers, occupied the factory and held it for a week. Sirius then stepped in as the heroes.
The factory is likely to reopen, and those workers who fought back are expected to be hired back by this new firm. Union jobs in their old factory. Vice President Biden says the stimulus bill's funding for making buildings more energy efficient is expected to drive up demand for the kinds of windows made by Sirius Materials, which has caused the company to ramp up its production, which has got those workers back their jobs. That's how it works. Economic stimulus. Ta-da!
But where are the jobs? It's now almost a year later, and Sirius didn't hire back those 250 people. The Washington Post reports that they're yet to hire back even 20 of those workers. I don't see why that's more stimulus success, or why, amidst this media circus celebrating wonderful union jobs, How come the media doesn't follow up on these things?
I think the media largely believe that business and government tend to be rivals. You see them writing
intuitively
about
government's there to protect us from
business, but it's a case. Usually, it's the big businesses that are able to play government more. But the point is that it's connection to government. A good connection to government is the best asset a company can have, increasingly as government plays a larger role in the economy. So whatever the criteria are that they lay out officially for this is how you get the money, the real thing is, do you have a lobbyist? And Serious Windows hired a lobbyist earlier this year, former staffers for the House.
For the first time.
For the first time, yes. Former staffers for the House Science Committee is who they hired. And then obviously there's the marriage with the administration official.
Look, an entire political system has been built on that myth. The Republican Party defending the business interest and the Democratic Party defending workers' interest. John, both parties are defending themselves to stay in power, and the loser is the constituent and the little guy. They're in league to retain power for themselves. And it's a nice story to tell that they're at war every day over these deep issues, but they are really in collusion to stay in power.
And they are staying in power and getting bigger all the time. Serious Windows and their cozy deal with government is just one example of this crony capitalism. When we return, we'll talk about the military, big toy companies, big steel, and big tobacco.